What up? I'm Raz, aka the Jack Black of Rayclass. Thanks for all the comments in the last video. Anyway, I stream on Twitch, Raz311. I've been working on the Blood Sacrament build guide. If you're coming here from that video, then you'll have all the stuff that I had done before the league start. Now that I've started the league, I've made a few changes and adjustments along the way to try to make it a little easier for myself to get where I like to be before Mage Blood. Also, there's some new items that kind of helped spruce the build up before it got started. So let's get into it. So the first thing was when I was leveling, I was using a rare chest in order to have a good chunk of resists and life. Once I had a little bit of currency, Comb's Heart and Belly of the Beast are relatively cheap. First, I was trying out Belly of the Beast. We'll see, I'm sitting at 19.8 because it gives you resists and 40% increased life. The rest of the stats are pretty irrelevant, although having armor in the early game is pretty good. You can even equip this at level 46, which would be really cool if you're leveling the build. And then once I started getting into the maps, I tried out Combs, and you can see that the HP is significantly higher with Combs, even though it has the life mod, so you don't get the life mastery. But you can't take the point away because you need to have all 6 in order to get the, was it 10% more life if you have them all. So you can see the Combs is pretty close. You know, it's like 1,500 off from the Apostate. And for the Apostate, I had to craft a bunch of energy shield gear. Some other changes that I made was, since we're not really doing a lot of bossing, like we can do some, but since it's like, you know, we're doing a lot of mapping, I made some changes to the skill trees and some of the skills and how we get our shock immunity, you know, storm shroud setup, that kind of thing, and some ailment stuff. All right, so originally we were anointing Whispers of Doom to have a double curse, but when you're mapping, like, you really don't have time to curse anything, because number one, it's gonna die like instantly anyway. Like, you're gonna kill things in 2 or 3 hits, 4 hits for like some tough stuff, maybe sometimes 8, but still it's really fast, and you're better off just killing it rather than trying to curse it twice. If you're curious, the other curse comes from the replica Witch Fire Brew, gives you a 21 vulnerability curse aura. And I just have it to auto-activate when I hit a rare unique, if it's not already in effect. One of the other changes I made to the tree was I took these AoE nodes up here and the ability to open chests when you cast, so you can just keep blasting, you don't have to collect them. So this gives us 40% area of effect. And then I picked up the ones here. Pick up another 30% and 20% area damage. And then in order to supplement some of the damage, I picked up the critical strike multi up here and the crit chance to try to get us as close to 100% as we could. So I dropped the Assassin's Mark from the Flame Dash link, so that gives us an extra red socket for a little more life. The other thing is, people ask me, why do you use Life Tap on Flame Dash if you're using Blood Magic? And Blood Magic is this node, which removes all mana, your skills cost life, and it gives you 10% more life. The reason why you put Life Tap here and you quality it is because this, even though you have Life Tap in Blood Sacrament, it can't proc Life Tap because it doesn't cost any life, it just reserves it. So if you read Life Tap, it says supported skills cost life instead of mana, gain Life Tap after spending X amount of life, and then it says supported skills deal more damage while you have Life Tap, and it lasts a certain amount of time. So the quality increases the duration of Life Tap, so no reason to quality this one because you'll never trigger it. But this one you will trigger, so you quality it, you get it up to 6 seconds, and then it gets a little longer with some of the points in the skill tree. So we get like 8 seconds out of it. But now that it's active, you can see our damage is higher, and then watch, once it drops off, now we're down to 14k. So if you get low life and you blink, we're at like 2359. And then once low life falls off and Life Tap falls off, it gets pretty low. So since we're not using the double curse anoint, I recommend the life node over here, thick skin. That'll give you 8% chance to avoid elemental ailments. So by this point, you should be able to get your Storm Shroud if you have a little bit of currency. I think they're going for like, yeah, 4 divs right now. You pick up your Storm Shroud, and then along with this, that already gives you 8% to avoid elemental ailments. So then you just need to pick up like 92% shock, chance to avoid shock. All right. So to facilitate our Storm Shroud, you have a couple different options. You can either wear the Tides of Time belt, like is in the original POB, and then give your flasks 100% uptime and 25% increased effect. And then you can roll as a suffix on a flask, like this one has reduced effective curses. You can roll as a suffix, 50% chance to avoid shock. And then you get 25% increased effect of that. So if you have 50, 25 of 50 is like 12 or something like that. Don't check my math. But it'll give you like another 10. And then you can pick it up from somewhere else. So in order to do that, there is influence mods that can have you avoid shock. So this one has 15% chance to avoid ailments, but you can just get straight up shock. I will link in the description charts that have all the different influence mods you can get on the different pieces of gear for Eater and Exarch. But that's one way to do it. The other way to do it, the way that I did it, in order to get more life out of the build, was I used a Stygian Vice with decent life rolls, nothing else really. Like, I'll just put it on for the life and some strength. It gives us a little extra damage. You can definitely get a better rolled one, but I'm going to replace this with a Mage Blood, so I wasn't in a super hurry. But anyway, so the important part is the jewel. So I got a jewel with a low rolled life, and then an avoid shock and an avoid bleeding. So it's super important that you get the build to be pretty much damage over time immune, right? So if you get the 46% avoid bleed and the avoid shock here, along with the shock on a flask and the little bit from the anoint, then you can get yourself capped. Now the bleed, you have 40% here. I ended up deviating off the tree up here in this connection, and you pick up these 3 nodes, and you can pick up this middle one as well. And what you're going to end up with here is 50% chance to avoid bleeding. So 20 here, 30 here. And then you can also take this protection mastery to get yourself immune to corrupted blood if you don't have it on a jewel or a flask. I picked it up on a cheap jewel with max life. So it's just 7% max life, corrupted blood immunity. They're like a divine now, but it was really cheap when I got it. Yeah, like here's one div, corrupted, so that it works with the adorned as well. You can also get some other corrupts that can help you, but increased area of effect is a good one. Now that we got that down, so that'll get you bleed immune. So if we check my defense, my bleeding avoidance is at 106%. So if you follow this, you get this jewel, and you get the stuff in the tree here, you'll end up bleed immune. So then for poison immunity, you can take this node, and that'll give you 50% avoidance, and you can find 50% avoidance somewhere else. What I ended up doing, because I think you can get poison avoid on a jewel too, but I wasn't trying to spend that much. Trying to keep it cheap. So I don't really use an armor flask, so I ended up just equipping one of these, because this is what I used with Mage Blood, just to increase effect and poison resist flask. I probably won't use the armor one this league. I'll change it to the one that gives you phasing and spell suppression. But basically, I set it up to use when poisoned. So if I become poisoned, I become immune to poison, and that's that. It just, takes it off me, and I don't have to deal with the dot. So that's how you handle poison and bleeding and shock and freeze and ignite and chill, because all that shit is super annoying. The other thing that's kind of annoying for the build is stuff on the ground. Well, let me find it here. So I take the Soul of Aberrath Minor God, which you're already immune to ignite, so that's irrelevant, but unaffected by burning ground is really good. Because there's some monsters that you kill and they drop a huge burning ground that does a fuck ton of damage over time. Or you'll get map mods that just have burning ground, and they're just undoable because every time you take damage, you won't be able to heal. You'll like step out and then be like, ah, shit, I can't heal, and then you end up dying. So we take this to avoid that, and then if you ever have a caustic ground map, it is doable, but still annoying. Just skip it if you can. And then since we are freeze immune now, we don't need this. Now, I haven't filled it out yet, but this seems pretty much to be the best one for the build. Unless you take this area from hits one. But basically, like this one I was using on bosses. But this one gives us a 10% chance to avoid projectiles. And since projectiles are one of our biggest weaknesses, that's great. So we're going to fill that out. And then avoid projectiles that have chained. Also super good. Right, so now anything that chains, you'll never get hit by, which is great because in like tier 17s, the monsters have shit that chains off walls and stuff. It can drive you nuts. And you get some more movement speed and some fizz damage reduction if there's a lot of enemies around you. So it's pretty good. So that's what I would recommend while leveling, well, into red maps. End game, actually. All right. The next piece would be the influence mods for the items. Like I said, I will leave a link in the description to the charts that have all the influence mods for each of the pieces. The influence mods for the helm. The best damage mod for the Eater of Worlds is going to be this increased spell damage. There's really nothing else. And then the best Searing Exarch one is actually flat fizz to spells. Flat fizz is nuts for this build because you can see it doesn't really do a lot at its baseline. It's like 486 to 741, but then it does 80% more damage per 10 life reserve. So when you get that extra flat, you know, that's a lot of extra damage. So the only reason I'm not using it is because I'm mapping so much. So I just want as much AoE as possible. It makes it a lot safer. You know, if you can get 100% increased AoE, you don't have to be as close and you can hit stuff from almost off screen. So that's what you're going to be looking at for that. These gloves, you don't have to use them, but Impale is a big chunk of your DPS on single target. You're pretty much going to one-shot everything that's not a boss anyway. So these are just great for when it's a boss. It helps you get, you know, it's almost like a third, you know, a little more than a third of extra damage against anything you're going to hit multiple times. I got this spell crit corruption just because it's super good. But what you really want to do is try to get as high of energy shield on this as you can, and then get as high of effective impales as you can. You don't need the spell crit. I just wanted it because it's super good. Trying to get as close to 100% as you can, because like right now with the life I'm at, it's at 86 with all my flasks up. So that's almost guaranteed critting. And then for the boots, I took action speed instead of movement speed because it's a multiplier rather than an additional, you know. So it's like 4% more move speed, more cast speed, you know, everything that you do just a little faster. And then I took the 15% chance to avoid ailments to make sure that my chance to avoid shock was, you know, fully capped. So with that little bit extra, that was enough to do it without having to use a flask. The other thing I did was I crafted some gear. I will make a separate video on the crafting, and I'll probably do some like relatively live. But just a quick go over, we crafted this hat. I just bought a fracture and I rolled defenses on it till I got double tier 1, and then I crafted strengthen it on it, just so, because I always need int, which is funny because if I take off this hat I have to put points in int on the tree just to put the hat back on. But whatever, it makes your int cap good, you know, work. I'll make a separate video on the crafting of those two pieces. Alright, so next I'm going to go over some stuff that you might be having difficulty with while you're going through your maps. So with this build, it has weaknesses, just like every other build, and there's just some annoying mechanics and some monsters, so I'll go over how to deal with or what mechanics to avoid and what map mods to avoid. And then I'll go over, I'll show some examples of how to deal with some of the annoying monsters. So the main thing that you want to avoid is mechanics that are going to keep you in a small enclosed space where you can't get any space to breathe, or if something goes on the ground, you can't not stand in it. So these mechanics are all doable once your build is good enough, because you're one-shot and everything, but you have to be able to drive your character. You know, you got to learn how to drive. But even then, sometimes, you know, you're just going to die because you get unlucky. You can't break something chasing you, or you're just taking damage too much. There's too many monsters on the screen at the same time. So those mechanics are going to be ritual, because you're in an enclosed space. Now, I did ritual all the way through the beginning of the league. It's perfectly doable. Even if you die every once in a while, you can still do it. But once you get enough AoE, and as long as you just keep moving in a circle, you're not going to die that much, but you will die eventually to something stupid. The other one would be obviously Ultimatum, and that's just because same thing, it has a lot of really annoying mechanics. Again, you can still do it. I've full cleared Ultimatums, no problem, but they can be a pain. I haven't done it this league, but the Simulacrum used to be kind of a pain, because especially when you get really towards the late game, the mobs have a lot of health and there's a lot of just shit everywhere. And if you take too much damage, or the bosses blink on you and hit you, then you won't be able to get your health back. But again, I have full cleared them. It just took a couple of portals. Might be easier this league. I don't know. I'll have to try one out and I'll let you know. The other one is Delve. Delve's a no-go for me. Like, again, you could do it, but the darkness, damage over time, it's not going to let you heal. Super annoying. There's a lot of monsters like the bats and stuff that do range stuff as soon as you turn around a corner. Also can be annoying, but it's still doable. The other thing you might be struggling with is with your labs. Now, once you start getting, if you leveled with this build, you probably already know that, but when you're trying to do like your Uber lab or whatever late game, if you're switching to it from another build, a lot of people die to traps, and you have a lot of health. You have to realize that, like, you can take a lot of damage. Most people have 5k. You have like 4 times that, right? So the hits aren't going to kill you. So you just need to take your time, and instead of trying to kill all the monsters, especially if there's traps around, just walk by them. Because you get hit by the traps, you might get hit by a monster, whatever. You get the 50%, you walk into the next room, and you just stay still for a second, and then you just keep going. It's not like you need to hang out with them and have a chat or anything. Just don't kill them, unless it's safe to do so. Now, once you get into red maps, like I am now level 95, I've been level 94 for like 2 days. Because once I hit like 93, I started dying, probably because I'm rushing and blasting too much and doing mechanics I shouldn't be doing. But your best friend, and you should always have one basically once you get up over like 25 or 30% XP, is an Omen of Amelioration. So since we die randomly on occasion or because of stupidity, this just basically covers your ass, right? So get yourself these. I like to have 2 of them on me. You can only use 1 Omen in a map. So if you're really trying to level, and you set up a build, you got Breach, you got Domination, you got all the influence mobs, that kind of stuff, whatever the best level and strat is, Abyss, you're going to want to have these and just blast as much as you can, because these will make you lose 2.5% of your XP instead of like 10%. So it really, really helps. That's how I did to level 100. I did 99 to 100 last league with Domination and Breach, and I think it was Eater Altars. Next thing we'll go over is map mods to avoid. So if you don't have Burning Ground immunity, Burning Ground, stuff on the ground in general is horrible. So just avoid stuff on the ground until you're immune to it. You get the Burning Ground immunity, then it's fine. If anything, it gives you speed boost. But the chaos damage on the ground, Like I said, it doesn't do a lot of damage, but it'll stop you from healing. So I would just avoid it completely. If you're immune through your Storm Shroud, then Chilled Ground is completely, you know, null and void. It doesn't do anything to you. What else? Reduced area of effect. That's a no-go as well. Reduced cooldowns. Also bad because the skill has a small cooldown. You can see it's 0.3 seconds right now. So especially when you get into higher tier maps and you're doing like increased effect of map mods and stuff like that, you know, they're doable because, you know, you can walk into a giant crowd of mobs, hit them once and then just leave, you know, and do that over and over again. I had to do that for some 8 mod corrupted maps, but you're better off just avoiding it if you can. Fizz Reflect until we get our Mage Blood, and then we'll be Fizz Reflect immune. Obviously avoid that. I also avoid Elemental Reflect because your Flame Dash can kill you, so just avoid Reflect completely until you get your Mage Blood. Now, no regen maps are doable to where like you are always at 1 health, but then you won't be able to Flame Dash because it costs life. So if you're okay with that, good, but remember you're taking a 20% more damage hit, and the mobility will help you stay alive. You know, you take a couple hits of damage and then you just blink out and you wait, you blink twice because something's fast chasing you, and then you go back to blasting. One other tip I can give is just general tip, is when you take so much damage that you can't cast Blood Sacrament anymore, if you're not getting pummeled, and sometimes it's even best to just, even though you don't want to hit it a lot of times when you think you're going to die, just keep spamming it, because the moment that it comes online, it'll kill whatever's pressuring you. You know, instead of like you going, oh, okay, I'm healed, and then hitting it, you can hit it immediately. You'll get used to it after a while. It feels a little weird at first. All right, so any other map mods? We went over reduced AoE, reflex. Personally, I like to avoid Goatmen just because they have arc and sparker mobs and they're super annoying. So I avoid Goatmen. I avoid beasts if they still have that. I don't remember, animals, just because it's devourers that blink in you in melee, and then those guys that explode in spikes. You'll see them in the next part of the video, which is how to deal with some of the annoying monster types when you can't avoid them. What else? So animals, beasts, AoE, lesser cooldowns, Fizz Reflect. There is also like reduced physical damage reduction, and I'll go over this in the crafting video, but we're going to end up having 2 of these, so it will completely ignore enemy physical damage reduction because this does count as a hit and it doesn't say melee hits. So we'll just be penetrating right through any physical damage reduction, so that won't be relevant. But obviously if you're just leveling or just leveling through maps, don't do that one. Alright, so the next part of the video is just going to be some gameplay of me showing how to deal with certain types of mobs. Again, I stream over at Raz311 on Twitch. I also feel free to drop a follow over there and check us out 3 to 3 pretty much every day. So it's 3 p.m. to 3 a.m. on average every day. Subscribe to the channel if the video was helpful. Drop a like, drop a comment if you have any questions. I try to answer every single thing that comes up. I'll link the current POB of what I'm using right now into the description as well, in case you just want to check that out. And that's it. Okay, so here we go. So the trick I use is you either wait it out, or you wait, like, see I took damage, so I'm gonna wait till I'm safe. And then you like walk inside the shield and just press it once, because if you spam your way into the shield, you're just gonna kill yourself because you'll end up half health on your way in. So you just wait it out, or you walk in and kill him when you know that you're full HP. See, because like there's these guys now. I'm full HP. Because you're not going to die if you're not pushing your button, so you don't have to worry. You know what I mean? Just take your time, walk into their square. It's the same when something's hitting you. You just like wait till it attacks and then attack it. Because it's only going to kill you if you guys attack at the same time. You know, if you're doing this, you're at your weakest. So this map has goat men on it, so it probably will have spark mobs, leap slams, and the guys who cast ice blasts or whatever. Alright, so with the spark mobs, they can be a pain, so like I like to blink behind them and then kill them from the back. Or if you get to a spot, especially in a map that has like multiple projectiles, you see like how like this hallway is full, just like out of LOS them and then blink past them and kill them. If you walk up on them spamming like this, you'll walk into projectiles and die. So a lot of it just comes from learning like how to drive your character to avoid stuff. Like if you know there's gonna be projectiles, you don't want to be spamming your ability. You see like these guys? Okay, got behind them, killed them, I took some damage, I'll walk away. Took some damage, wait a second. Alright. You'll learn to know the flow of the mobs. Like see, spark. That's it. Because if you just walk through spamming, you're gonna die. See, like, I know there's all those guys there. Blink past them, one hit, stop. Because you're gonna one-shot them anyway. But if you keep casting, you're gonna die because there's gonna be sparks still on the ground and that kind of stuff. So hopefully that helps. This is like a perfect example. You see all these sparkers, if you're in LOS of them, they'll just keep casting. So you go out of LOS, blink past them, and kill them, and then back out. Out of LOS. Blink past them, kill them. In an open field, you can just go in a circle. It's not a big deal. But in that kind of situation, you don't have that option. I have a little bit of block.
This is the key to a crucible that stretches the sanity.
Another kind of mob that can be annoying are these ancient constructs, because they shoot these cast bolts. Kite them in a circle if you have a lot of space. If you don't, just like the sparkers, blink past them, kill them after being out of line of sight for a little while. Like here's some. Blink past them, kill them, then let your health refill. Same strat as the sparkers. Okay, so another one of the monsters that are kind of hard are these. They're called Chromanthus, the Goliaths here, but they do spikes on death. So what you want to do is like group them up and hit them once and stop, because if you spam it, they will kill you. Let's see if we can find another group of them real quick. All right, there's another group of them up ahead here. So they hit you when they explode, especially some of the harder ones, do a lot of damage. So you don't want to kill them staggered. You want to kill them all at once, or just take, you know, one big hit. Then you'll take a little bit of damage, you walk away. Again, same thing. Again. There's another group. Hit them all at once. But, you know, if you hit it multiple times while there's a pack of those and you kill 2 or 3, like here's a good example, right? It took 50% of my life. If you'd hit it twice, you'd be dead. And that's how you deal with those. Just be patient and then, you know, explode them as many as you can at once, but only press the button one time. Well, if you made it this far into the video, thanks so much for watching. I hope it helped you. Drop a like if you liked it. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I'll have more updates coming out as we go through. Feel free to join us over on Twitch at Raz311. That's RAZZED 311 at twitch.tv. We're there from 3 p.m. Eastern Time to 3 a.m. Eastern Time on average. Leave a comment if you've been playing the build. Let me know how it's been going for you. How far in the maps have you gotten? How much have you invested? Or let me know anything else you guys would like to see. Have a good day or night wherever you're at. Peace.